Hello, hello. Hello, can everyone hear me? One, two, yes, all right. Hey, Zahid, can you hear me? I hope everyone is. Yay! It's all right if you're the only one. No worries. Hey, hi Harun, can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me properly. I think Harun can't hear me, yeah? Oh, you can hear me. Oh, good. All right. Perfect. Alrighty then. What are we going to discuss today? Let me know. Let's set up some goodie bags, shall we? So, if you share this live with your friends, in 5 minutes you can get some coins. Let's start. And tonight we're going to do our second series in the Clues to Success. Thank you for sharing. Daniel is here, Zahid is here, and Creed is here. Thank you for sharing, guys. I've got some good number of gifts from the previous stream. Oh wow, we have 6 viewers on YouTube. Amazing. Alrighty. Yes, I will check the messages when I have time, and I'm sorry for not checking it yet, but I've been busy setting up this live stream. And we had the previous live stream where we played Clash Royale, which was amazing. But tonight we're going to talk about the clues to success. So, what are some questions that you are dying to ask me in terms of finance, investment, entrepreneurship? Last week, what did we discuss last week? I think last week we discussed about passion and purpose. And this week I actually wanted to tell you about the concept of Ikigai. Obviously, some of my students already know about it, but I just thought it would be nice to discuss it here as well. Let me improve lighting and background. There we go. Hey Ali, good to see you. So, let's start our conversation, and I hope the camera isn't too bad. So the concept of Ikigai is something that I think is really important to understand if you're looking to find your passion and purpose in life. And thank you for all the likes, guys. Tonight, I actually had a conversation with one of my friends, and he's kind of beyond my age even, and he still is not sure what his passion is. So how do we figure it out, and what is actually Ikigai? To understand Ikigai, I always like to use this concept of 4 overlapping circles, and I'll try to do my best here with the iPad. So, wow, this actually doesn't even look like a circle. Anyways, what if we use shapes here? There we go. Okay. So we have one circle here. We have, and let me change the color to, let's say, blue. And I want it a bit solid line, right? And then we have, yeah, okay, we got it. And then we have another circle here, which is going to be gold color. Right, and then we have the last circle here, oops, which is going to be of green color. So what do these circles mean? And of course, my students would know already. Let's make it a bit bigger like this. There we go. So the top one, the red one, is something that you are passionate about, something that you like doing. And we can call this circle like. This can be anything from singing to drawing to computer games, soccer, all of that kind of stuff. And then on the blue circle, we have something that you are really good at doing. And some of these overlap, but obviously something that you're good at might be math or science, or like for myself, I'm good with computers and technology, that kind of stuff. On the green side, we have everything that the world needs. So, oh my god, this is an awful globe. So I'm going to just write it down. Something that the world needs, which means something that is useful to people. Things like food, staples, washing windows is something that the world needs. And the last one, last but not least, and let's change color to some orange, for example. The last one is something that you can get paid for. And why is this important to understand your passion in life? Something that you like is easy to figure out. These are the things that you enjoy doing, regardless of people asking you to or not. This is something that you just do for yourself. Something that you're good at is a bit more difficult, but usually we know things that we can do relatively well, and some things that, like, I'm not, obviously not very good at drawing, as you can see. But why is it important? When we try to think about the way we live for our life, right now, most of you, I guess, is in school, so you're going to school. And obviously, every single one of us just loves going to school, and we really looking forward to going to school every single day. We wake up in the morning and we're like, we can't wait to go to school. And then you go through the school, you finish school, you go to university, and you're like, oh my god, I can't wait to go to uni. I can't wait to spend 4 years studying for a degree that's going to be very useful in my job. And besides, I'm also going to pay $50,000 or maybe even more for that degree, and I can't wait to go to university. And then after you graduate university, obviously you get a job that you have been dreaming of for the rest, for your whole life. Throughout school, throughout uni, you've been living and dreaming of becoming a lawyer, an accountant, a dentist, a construction worker, and you start working, and obviously life is amazing. You love what you're doing. And thank you for all the gifts, guys, by the way. Zabi, Daniel, Creed, who else? Thank you very much for all the gifts. And if you can, please use the gifts from the goals that we set up. So then you work until you're about 65 years of age, and on average, by the time you're 65 years old, an average Australian has about 300k, and this is Australian dollars, in their super account. And at the same time, they also have about minus 200k Australian on their mortgage. So which means until they're 65 years old, and these are median numbers, you worked your whole life, you went through school, uni, loving everything that you're doing, and you end up being at about 100k, maybe, if you're lucky, but most likely about 50k net worth, right? So all of your assets, the house that you bought, the car that you have, all of that stuff, plus minus, you end up being 50 to 100k net worth by the time you're 65 years old. And that's after living a whole life according to your ikigai, right? I don't know. For most people, they don't really understand why they're going to school. They don't really understand why they're going to uni. And when they go for a job, it's just to make the ends meet. And this is what we call the rat race. If you're following the book that we're reading, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, that's what we call rat race. You spend your whole life working for a company, paying taxes, and I actually call this modern tax slavery, because you live your whole life to get the paycheck, you pay your taxes, you get a mortgage, and if you're lucky, by the time you're 65, you're still able to afford the house that you live in, and that is if you're lucky. Why is Ikigai important here? There is a very famous Chinese quote which goes that if you find a job that you love, or if you find something that you really enjoy doing in life, then you don't have to work a single day in your life. Why? Because work becomes play. So let's keep this on the right side here. This life of a typical Australian. We can say average Australian citizen life, where you study hard, you get a degree, you get a job, you pay your taxes, you overall have a good life. And on the other side, if we look at this Ikigai concept, if you figure out as soon as possible, as early as possible, a few things that you like doing, this can be drawing, music, soccer, finance, economy, some people like law, and you just identify a few of these things. And then you keep doing those things, enjoying those things, and at some point you become really good at these things. And then you keep doing, you become even better, and at some point you become really good. That's just how things work. If you keep doing something, and besides, if you really enjoy doing this something, you eventually become really good at it, right? And it's, I think it's estimated that 10,000 hours it takes to become good at something. And then when you're really good at something, you start, people start noticing you eventually. And maybe someday they start asking you, you know, like, could you help me with this? It could be programming, could be, I don't know, construction, could be graphic design, could be singing or public speaking. And as you become better and better, people might start asking you to do a favor for them here or favor there, and you realize that there are people who can benefit from what you know, right? And then you have one person asking, second person, 3, 4, 5, and you realize, wait a second, so many people want something from me, maybe I should start putting a price on this. And this is where you start moving towards this here, where you're doing something that you like, you have become good at it, the world needs it, people are lining up to give you money, and this is where we start hitting this sweet spot in between all four that we call ikigai. And this is a Japanese concept, Japanese word, which means iki means life and gai means value or meaning or purpose. So value of life or meaning of life, I can simply call it your reason for being. And what's good about this different approach to living your life? You start here where you like something. You keep doing what you like, you become good at it. You become really good, you spend maybe another 50,000 hours and you become exceptionally good at something. Outstanding. But the good thing about this is the whole time that you have been doing this, if you look at this carefully, this whole time you have been traveling from what you like and you have never escaped this area of your life which is about something that you like. Now, why is it so important to stay where you like? If we come back to this story here, and this is the story of an average Australian citizen, it's not always about what they like, it's not always about what they're passionate about, it's not sometimes even about what they're good at or the world needs. But if we look at this story, you have started with something that you like, you have continued with what you're good at, you slowly gravitated towards what the world needs, and eventually you end up getting paid for it. So the whole 10,000 or 50,000 hours, and even here, if you want to get a good job, you need to invest a lot of time. You need to invest, how long are we in school? From foundation to year 12, right? This is 13 years of life, I think. If you start when you're 5 and you finish when you're 18, you spend 13 years of school, and that's not exactly 8 hours, 8 to like 7 hours ish, right? 35 hours a week. And then you go to university where you spend 4 years of your life, and then you also end up paying, let's say, 50k plus, and that is also about 30 hours per week, maybe, depending on the type of uni that you study. And then after all of that, you spend another, let's say if you start working when you're 23, 25-ish, you spend another 40 plus years working and paying taxes and paying mortgages. And this is now 40 hours per week on average if you're working full time. That's a lot of hours here. And you're not even always happy when you're at school. Some people are forced to go to uni. And when you start working, you realize that that money doesn't really solve many of your problems. But when you come here, 50,000 hours to get exceptional at something, and the whole time you're doing something that you like. Let's look at alternatives. Why is it important that we follow this route, this way? And let me maybe highlight this or trace this here. Right, this route. And this is maybe why Ronnie Spark uses lightnings like this. What happens if you doing what you like, you're doing what the world needs, you're doing what you're good at, but you're not getting paid for it? And this is the first trap here. If you are in this area is what I call broke. No matter how happy you are doing what you like, what you're good at, and what the world needs, you still need to pay the bills. And this is where you're broke. If you are here, which means you're doing something that you like, what you're good at, and the world pays you, people pay you, but the world doesn't really need it, this is where we tend to feel useless. And there's been a time in my life when I experienced it, working for a good company, getting good money. If you're here, it means that you're doing what you're good at, you're doing what you're being paid for what you're doing, the world needs what you're doing, but you don't really like it. So this is where you start feeling empty, I guess, because you don't really like, or you're disgusted maybe. Something interesting happens here too. You're doing what you like, the world needs it, you're getting paid for it. I mean, who wouldn't like this kind of stuff? But now you're not really good at it, so at any point you can be kicked out of your job, or someone else will take your job. And this is where you start to feel really insecure. But this point here, this is where all four areas intercept, and this is what we call ikigai. And I like to call it, with regards to what we're trying to learn here, I like to call it the point of entrepreneurial bliss. And why is it important? Because if you are trying to do something that people don't normally do, if you're trying to start a business, if you're trying to be successful, if you're trying to establish something that hasn't been done before because you're following your passion, you really need a lot of motivation. You need passion. You need dedication. You need time. Something about 50,000 hours. And while doing all of this, people will keep telling you, mate, why don't you just go to uni? Why don't you get a job? That's what my father has done and his father has done. And that's how everyone lives. Why do you keep doing this strange stuff? Why do you keep listening to these people on YouTube? Why do you want to risk your life and do something that no one has done before? You are gonna keep hearing this because this thing we call FUD. That's your fear. That's uncertainty. And that's your doubt that every single person around you, your friends, your family, your parents, your siblings will keep telling you, you know what, I think you're doing something weird. Why don't you just follow what everyone else has done? I went to uni, I'm happy, I found a job. Doesn't matter that it's not exactly what I studied for, but at least I have income every week. But then we realize that although we have fear here, these guys on this side, they also want to have a job. Why? Because they're afraid. They have also fear of having no job. So it's no different. When we think about uncertainty here, we don't know if our business is going to succeed or not. These guys have the same uncertainty. Why? Because when you have a job, you have a salary. And who assigns your salary? Your employer, your boss. And always want to have bigger salary, but you never know whether you're gonna get it or not. So you have the same uncertainty. And if you think that you're not sure whether you're gonna succeed or not, I think people who only work for a job or a salary and they're dependent on their employer, they can also get fired. They can also have economic crisis. They can also have COVID epidemics. So they also have doubts. What's the difference? I don't think there's much difference. And on one side, this is what you're getting: modern tax slavery and the average Australian citizen life. On this side, yes, you have a lot of risk, but you also have reward. And it's not for every person. Some people are just comfortable living the rat race, and some people want more. And that's why I think we're having these sessions here to identify which people have this hunger for more, hunger for being exceptional. They are switched on. They don't accept the usual. So they are against mediocrity. And they're also driven, which means they have the energy. So this is a short concept of Ikigai. And let me turn back to the chats. And I think we also need to set up another goodie bag because you guys have done well and we have put your questions in the chats. Way to think about it is something that you're willing to would go the extra mile games or games in general. So don't play the game even still feeling guilty about fishing. And obviously, depending on the tides or depending on where you're fishing, sometimes you gotta wake up really early, 5 a.m., maybe even 3 a.m., and you go out there and it's cold, but you're still so passionate and you so like the process that you would still be willing to suffer for this. So, another way to understand passion is, as we read in the Rich Dad Poor Dad, we can look at it as a mix of anger and desire, something that you really want because you like it or you're passionate about it, and something that pushes you to do it because you're angry if you don't do it otherwise. Yahya, what is this that you are doing, Mr. Rinat? I was explaining the concept of Ikigai and the two options. On the right side here, we have the rat race and what I like to call modern tax slavery, where you keep working your many years of your life just to end up with the average or median Australian net worth of 50 to 100k, and it takes you 50 plus years to get there. Actually 60, right? If you start the school at 5 years old and you retire at 65, you spend 60 years of your life. You spend 60 years of your life doing something that other people want in life, and you're in life and your ikigai early when you're still in your teens, ideally, which means before you're 20 years old. Then you can spend your whole life, 60 plus years, doing something that you like, and you never go out of this with it. You gravitate eventually towards what the world needs, and then you end up in your ikigai. You got 3 coins, and since we got to 7,500 likes now, let me set another goodie bag for all of you guys for another 5 minutes. And I think we've been live for 40 minutes. Come on, ask me any more questions. Have a whole bunch of questions. Oh wow, yes, we do have a whole bunch. Someone saying, I only go to school because of you. Thank you very much. How do I escape the rat race? And I like money. Yes, it's good that you like money. Can't see anything, can't even hear you, it's just blank. Oh my god. Sorry, guys. So, how do you escape the rat race? What if the thing we're passionate about is so unachievable? Do you believe everyone has a purpose? It's just that we have to discover it and apply it. Yes, I do absolutely believe that every single one of us has a purpose and we're just building your purpose. So the more you gravitate towards the things that you like and enjoy and are passionate about, you will start seeing opportunities around you to add value. So if you follow the videos that I have on my TikTok channel, it's all about adding value, and you need to find people who need that more than you would. So what are certain things that you can do that you like doing and you're good at? And to escape the rat race, I actually would advise to learn about finance and economy and how the money works, what money actually is. These are the things that we discussed last week. That will help you understand how the money works, how the economy works, and find a way out of the rat race. All right, to have a job that you like and you're good at and the world needs and you get paid for. But as we learned from the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, it's usually the poor people with the poor people mindset who work for money, whereas the wealthy people, the successful people, or what some of, as you are still working for money, which means you're exchanging your time, your skill, your energy, your effort for money by helping other people or your employer, you need to have a solid plan on how to use that hard-earned money in a way that will start compounding and increasing and generating more income, more opportunities for yourself and other people too, in a more productive way. You will start accumulating wealth. You will start having more opportunities, more options in your life. My option here with the Ikigai concept is just a way to maybe speed it up, because as much as investment can give you wealth and success, it wouldn't give you fulfillment. And there's no worse thing without fulfillment. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Why? You can have all the millions in the world. You can have all the success that you want, all the cars, houses. But if you're still not happy, money in itself, money, however much money you have, money by itself doesn't give happiness, doesn't bring joy, doesn't give you fulfillment. It helps a lot, but it doesn't give you those things by itself. You need to know how and why and where to apply your money. And the most important question is why. and that's what translates to your purpose. And we keep going back to this concept of ikigai, because this is your why. Here, right here. This is your why, this is your purpose, this is something that gives you fulfillment. And that's why I think the sooner you start figuring out what is it that you really truly enjoy doing and are passionate about doing, that will give you fulfillment. And actually, Tony Robbins says that success is achievement or science of success. Because in any area of life, you can find someone, or you can find a book, you can find a course on how to be a successful businessman. You can find a book on how to be a successful key person of influence, for example. You can find a course on how to be a good musician. So science of achievement and success is easy, but what's not easy is, and that's why he calls it the art of fulfillment. Why? Because success and achievement it's mechanical, it's pretty much same for everyone. But what makes you you, and what makes you, my suggestion here to follow this route is simply because out of these four things, what you like, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for, the easiest one to discover is what you actually like and what you're passionate about. Because to figure out what the world needs, you need to interact with the world. To get paid, again, you need the other people, they need to have money. To become good at something, you need to keep doing something. But just to figure out what you like, even if we lock you up in a room with no other people, you can figure out what you like. And in fact, maybe getting locked up in a room is a better way to think about what you actually like without any distraction. And that's what sense of growth, sense of adding something to this world. Daniel, you are the only one who got the goodies from the bag again. How is it possible? What about Cloud? And by the way, guys, Daniel, Zahid, thank you very much. Zabi, Crate, thank you for all the gifts. I think we got 84 orbs tonight, which is amazing. Fast pop. Let me do probably the last questions, and I think we can end the stream in about 10 minutes. Harun, I think, is asking, what do I do to not end up in the useless spot? Useless spot is where the world doesn't need. Yeah, you just need to interact with the world and figure out what really adds value to other people, to the world around you, and what really makes other people. People will ask you, and you need to be really attentive and try to understand people first. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that's the way to figure out what the world needs. And that will help you to not end up in the useless spot. How do I make the plan? I'm assuming that's the financial plan. We can talk about financial plan on financial plan, and it's easy to calculate. It's one of the exercises that I like doing, but I usually prefer to do those interactively. Let's look at questions from here. Let's say we found our passion, but the world is so huge, millions of others could have it. Yes, that is. So it's obviously possible that millions of other people would have the same passion. That's why in our class we have the concept of origin, mission, and vision, and maybe that's something that we can discuss next week. Concept, audience, offer, sales. You need to understand what makes you uniquely you, and that's where we look at your origin story, the experiences that you have been through. And if we look here at the passion is a mix of anger and desire. So we can say that anger is something that relates to your past, and desire is something that relates to your future. So your past is your origin story. What has made you uniquely you? The experiences that you have in life, the challenges that you had in life will be part of that origin story of yours. They will push you to be different. They will push you to do something that you have seen as missing maybe in your life or wrong in your life. And that's how you will find that niche that is uniquely yours, that is unique to you, unique to your origin story. And it's all right if other people have the same passion. It's actually even better because you can join up, you can collaborate, you can partner together with them. Even in this book here, The Key Person of Influence, number 5 is you need great partnerships. So you need to perfect your pitch, you need to start publishing your ideas, then you productize your value as you keep interacting with the world, you raise your profile, and you establish some great partnerships. That's how you become the key person of influence. That's how you become exceptional and outstanding from the rest. And the sooner you identify that niche, the better. Alrighty. 7.7 thousand likes. Thank you guys very much. I'm watching you on my phone and TV. Thank you very much. Thank you, Harun. I'm really glad. And it actually shows you as my top fan. Wow, number 1. Thank you. Alrighty, do we have maybe the last 4 minutes? And I will take your last questions, please. It is also getting late, almost 10 p.m. here in Adelaide, which means 10:30 in Sydney. Bye, Harun. Have a good night. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope it was useful. Thank you. Thank you. People are saying you're amazing, by the way. Thank you very much. Ooh, we have 3 people watching on YouTube. Yes, I'm still in my office. Is it possible that some people are just made to be average or even below average? I wouldn't say it as being average or being below average. One of the videos that I like discusses this concept of 3 types of people, and it talks about some people being snakes, some people being sheep, and some people being lions. The goal of these success stories or clues to success is to identify those lines. The snakes, that's probably the worst type, that is negative towards people, that is trying to bring people down, that is trying to basically feel good about themselves by bringing other people down. Those are the snakes. And let me switch back to the camera. So those are the snakes. The sheep are the people that just are okay with not striving too much, you know. And that's where the difference between sheep and lions. Lion is always hungry, and they have to really fight for their food. They have to hunt, they have to go out and take risks. If they don't struggle, they don't find their sustenance. But sheep are just, we use sheep for the meat and wool and our resources, but we also take care of them. So some people, yes, they will be comfortable in that average Australian citizen life. And Australia is an amazing country and nothing wrong. We're just not looking for more. It's perfectly okay. And the purpose of these live streams again is because some people, they just want more from life, and it's usually those people who drive innovation, people who drive entrepreneurship, people who really do extraordinary amazing things. And my goal is to help you identify if you're one of those, to help find the next amazing entrepreneur, the next Elon Musk, the next scientist, the next Ada Lovelace, the innovators who are willing to trailblaze and push boundaries, because I think that's the type of nature that I have myself. And I have been through some difficulties in my life, and I wouldn't want those people who do not fit the mold, do not fit the normal education system, I wouldn't want them to struggle in life. And that's the purpose of me being here. I want to offer support to those people and be able to guide them and maybe save them some time and effort in the process. And it gives me fulfillment in turn, actually. All right, I hope that answers your question. And if there are no more questions, I think we can call it a night and get some rest. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for joining the stream. And see you again tomorrow, 6-7, for our usual daily Clash Royale sessions. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.